this is once again is yet another historical first. So we have the VIX now, who spiked to 28, and yet we're only about 2% off all-time highs. We have the fear gauge, which really is meaningless, pinging extreme fear while we're 2% off all-time highs. So usually when we get a VIX spike to 20, 25, 28, 30, we have a pretty significant drawdown, at least 3, 4, 5%. But here we are still pinging the exact same price we were on Monday or Friday, just under all-time highs, and yet the market is positioning as if we're down 10%, 15%. Silly. What's up, YouTube? How's it going? All that to say is that things are a little crazy. Gold continues to fly to ridiculous prices, which is obviously a warning sign in and of itself. A little bit of top wick here on NASDAQ from 770 down to 700, 70-point top wick. We have options, which are call heavy put shy right now. We have liquidity all the way up to 24,900. Spicy OPEX? Probably. I would probably say today's going to be a wee bit spicy, but we'll see. Bouncing back up. Anyone have tilt active? Man, that thing is completely pointless. Completely pointless. I look at charts now when I'm on stream and hear big red candles coming down. Nice. So back up, we have 70 points down, 70 points back up here. These are robust candles. We're opening just shy of break even of the overnight session after being down over 1%. 300 points down, 300 points up on NASDAQ. Oil is still hanging out under 60, now 56.80 after a little recovery. Gold's put on some beautiful 3C bounces. Everywhere there's a massive bounce is corresponded with a massive volume, so very clean setups on gold here. KRE, who is the talk of the town yesterday, was aggressively down this morning, but they also recovered. But now they're coming back down again. The whole kit and caboodle with the regional banks is that there's some larger regional banks that are going under. Some of them reported massive losses, $50 million to $100 million write-offs, as they had to take a bath in some delinquent loans, which is arguably the start of something bigger. Premium is still high on puts, yeah. VIX is 24.20, heading back up after a little bit of red. What's up, Jonathan? How you doing? Good morning. Happy Friday, Wesley. K-Trade Bandits, massive. Well done. Good morning. Y'all notice the disappearance of all the chemtrails with the government shutdown? I've had some beautiful, crispy, clear skies the past week or so. It's beautiful. Beautiful. In the future, it's best not to laugh emoji as someone's analysis. Does somebody laugh at you? Having a look, yeah. You know, now that you mention it, yeah, it's some beautiful clear skies, man. Beautiful clear skies. Watch, the second they open, it's going to go back to wispy, slightly cloudy, chemtraily stuff. Let's take a look at the top 10. NVIDIA is going up. Apple is flat. Microsoft is flat. Amazon is down. Meta is flat. Google is down. Tesla is creeping up ever so slightly. XLF starting to slide down. What are the bonds doing? The bonds, 91.24. They spiked up to 91.60 and back down. If you look at the daily chart on bonds, you see that we're beginning to see a bit of an uptrend here after many, many months of chilling down at 86 or so. The VIX is heading back to 24.5 or so. Overall, though, I'm just going to chill like a vill here, chilling like a villain until I see something. 9.45, baby. Be patient. The money you make before 9:45 will not overcome the money you lose most of the time before 9:45. So just chill. We'll have something going. And this pretty much sums up exactly what we are facing in terms of trying to figure out the conditions as traders. Right here. So tough trading without your commentary on odd days. Nice, Mark. Appreciate that. Well, hopefully we get something going today. 24,900 is liquidity to the upside. That'll be 150 points from here if that's what grabs it. Right here. 24,780. The S&P here is still climbing up. We have, let me hit full screen on this. Call buying, aggressive 0 DTE put selling. They just went from 100 million of puts purchased to 130 million puts sold. 230 million change here in about, 2-3 minutes. So with the expiration today of a call heavy OPEX, we're going to see some inflation or I guess rising price action here to kind of get those premiums up, and then we'll roll those off the books, and then once that'll flip over into a put heavy book going into next month, which will be interesting. It'll be interesting. This is the first time in history that the VIX has spiked to this degree without a significant sell-off on the S&P. I think it all comes down to the 0 DTE crap. Somehow, some way, it comes down to the 0 DTEs while the market just simply won't drop. Given the fact that the VIX has spiked to 28, which is, in normal environments, incredibly high. I'm hanging back today. Had a good night trading gold. Nice. PB&J. Get you a nice, delicious PB&J with a crisp, cold glass of milk. Freshly squeezed milk from a farm cow. Gold, by the way, is down to 42.75. Cow juice. Back in 2007, Bear Stearns was the first bank to kick off the '08 crash. What do you mean by put heavy? The OPEX. So once today's OPEX roll off, we will be in a put heavy environment. After for months and months and months being in a very, very aggressive call heavy environment. So yeah. Gold's dropping hard. We have an incredibly high volume spike here at this 27.69 price. Nice. ES and NASDAQ are still just kind of drifting higher. So far in the zeros, you see these green lines dropping and the blue lines climbing. They are selling both calls and puts on the zeros right now. But I'm just going to chill for a little bit. What's up, DJ? Jonathan, Holy Trinity Architect. What's up? When I signed on this morning, I thought we were going to get paid today big time on our swing positions. And then, of course, Trump had to come out and ruin all the fun. I was like, man, we're going to be over 100% today. It's going to be great. We're going to make money. We're going to get started. Nope. 100-point recovery. We'll see, though. There's still a lot of time. NVIDIA calls it the open printing. Nice. Tariffs on your new tractor. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Honestly, I need a new barn first. That's the only reason I haven't bought a tractor yet, because I have nowhere to put it. So I need to build a barn first, or at least some sort of lean-to. A little bit of red. We do have some data today. Very minor data. Business inventories and retail inventories at the top of the hour. A little bit of red. Used to be hard to wait till 9:45, but I have my fair share of volatility that's humbled me. Yeah, trust me, man. Waiting for 9:45 has done so well. Like, I don't even care about the first 15 minutes anymore. The first 15 minutes, every now and then you'll pop into a very small trade, couple of micros or so. But 9:45 is the big dog. That's the gravy train with biscuit wheels, baby. Put your OM symbol on the barn. Heck yeah. Slap a gabagoo. I don't think I'll be able to trade today. At least I made money sports betting. There you go. Are you still doing your arbitrage? Or are you just doing degenerate style? I'm red for the week. I'm not going to overtrade, but I think I'll do well to save the week. Nice. Doesn't matter, Chris. If the setup's there, it is. If it's not, it's not. Let's switch to the 15 minutes and wait. Nice. 24,733 dropping. China unveils quantum radar that can make the U.S. stealth jets useless. Even the most advanced. No longer invisible, which is very expensive. I don't agree. Anytime I read stuff like that, knowing what I know, I completely disregard it. Like, I promise you, with our intelligence, anything China even tries to do, we're going to know about it before they even try to do it. So it's always overblown. From a technological standpoint, China will never hold a candle to us militarily. Never. Not even close. The media makes it out to be that they're the next big thing and they're going to overtake us. They're not. If there's one thing we're good at in America, it's military, baby. Blowing stuff up. It may cost you $38,000 to have a baby, but we know how to blow stuff up. What's up, Salim? How you doing? This is Jaden. Cool. All right, NASDAQ is about to smoke the whole range. We have aggressive put selling and call selling. You see these two lines right here crossing one another? 0 DTEs. Right here. You have a bit of a bias. I have a bias because I've been on top secret meetings and I've had all that stuff and I've seen capabilities and I've seen what China can do, and it's not that impressive. All right, here we go. A little bit of red here on NASDAQ coming back over. S&P is 66.49. That's right, PB&J. What's up, Mojo? How you doing? How's your ticks? Longs loading? Yeah. That is true. They do have the bodies. That's true. The option info has been valuable. Good stuff, Martin. Yeah. VIX is heading back up 24.70. Man, look at these options. They're crazy selling everything. They're dumping the whole boat. Throw them overboard. Throw them overboard, sir. Breathing in my hair. $724. We have a little bit of volume coming down right into the 708 area. Extending a little bit lower. At 40% IV, I'm selling everything as well. Nice, Mojo. Yeah. So, very common. VIX is skyrocketing back up to 25. They've already tapped set 28 and rolled. Now we're coming back down even more. 1 minute away from my trading time. Gold looks like good volume with the bottom wick. Nice. Yeah, so the high volume bottom wick there worked out. We discussed that briefly on stream, but obviously a 3C. From what I can tell, the gold is the king of 3Cs right now. It's so clean. Highly recommend if you want to take some 3C trades. Gold's your huckleberry. I'll be your huckleberry. I'll be drinking beer on the couch and playing Lies of P. I don't know what Lies of P is. What is that chart in the bottom left-hand corner? That is Spot Gamma's options flow. That's how I'm getting the 0 DTE options data. The green line you see there is calls. The blue line is puts. What you're seeing is the green line go down, which means they're selling calls. The blue line is coming up, which means they're selling puts. Think about it in forms of delta. As a former naval submariner, I completely agree with your military assessment versus China. Nice features, Vagabond. Yeah, you know it. You know it. Is your stream more delayed than usual? Oh, I don't know. what a spike-a-roni on the old VIX-a-roni here. Nice little drop on NASDAQ here, and ES. NASDAQ was a little bit heavier than NASDAQ, relatively. And of course, we have slight divergence. 0.55 red on NASDAQ, 0.36 on ES. All of major tech is red, of course. The S&P is about mixed green. 50% red, 50% green. Let's see if I can get something going. We have liquidity down to 24.5. 15-minute bounce almost perfect left yesterday's low. Nice. Some VIX-a-roni and cheese. I love it. VIX-a-roni with cheese. A little bit of green. Higher highs, of course. Higher highs. A little bit more red. Another bottom wick. NASDAQ. Can we get a 3C? Or what are they going to do with this? The 5-minute right now has no real obvious volume spikes. The 1-minute has a slight volume spike, nothing crazy. Right now it's setting up to be a chop day with this kind of options chain. They need to change that game a little bit for me to get excited. Do I consider spot gamma to be a value add? 100%. I do. I mean, I wouldn't give it to y'all. I wouldn't push it on y'all if I didn't think it was a value add. 100%. Ultimately, they have nukes like Russia. It's probably a better way to find a peace. Well, kind of go back yesterday. I don't think the larger developed countries will ever use nukes because they know it's the end of them too. The second someone even tries to fire a nuke at us, we'll know about it before it gets off the ground, and we will send about 15 of ours right to all their cities. So it's not in anyone's best interest to use nukes. It's a fear tactic by the media. Fear sells, baby. Fear sells. Now they could do it through proxy. Like Russia funding some Al-Qaeda group to come over here through Mexico and do it. Have you ever heard of Heatseeker, a new visual data tool? I have not heard that, no. A little bit of green. So we have on the 1 minute, we have what, like doji here, slight bottom wicks, and then nice little green here. So 3Cs are technically playing out, although it's not as clear as I'd like it to be. Nice. NASDAQ morning price action looks like how yesterday started with the tight range. Probably look for an attempted break of the range, whatever direction. Look for the plate of rejection play. Nice. Send a fake nuke and bring in the alien base. Did you see that Polymarket has a higher chance of aliens being proven in 2025 as opposed to Bitcoin hitting like 115 again or something? I don't know, something crazy. All right, 24,780. So that's about an 80, 90 point bounce on NASDAQ with a little bit of volume. Interesting to see how this hour ends. 1 hour chart could be very telling. Yeah. So we had, like I said, on the 1 minute chart, we presented a very moderate 3C setup. A little bit of high volume. We had some wicks, and then of course the higher high would have been roughly, 700, 710. But it wasn't very clear. It wasn't as high volume as I'd like. The 5 minute deal didn't really present anything in terms of volume. So that was I don't mind not taking that trade. It just wasn't really screaming at me. Couldn't confirm anything on the 5, so it's no bueno. Gold had a beautiful 3C bounce off of 42.68. You could have got confirmation at about 80 or so. They're just kind of holding up here at their highs, or the high of that bounce. Platinum is down and staying down. Gold's still going, or Nasdaq's still going. S&P is 66.65 after their little bounce. Appreciate that comment last week. I would have jumped in there. Not good R&R. Yeah, I mean it's all about confidence, you know. It's all about confidence. Can't take everything. 24,800. They have liquidity up to 900. We have aggressive call buying, put selling here, so we are still just going up. 100 points already. Yep, still going. Was trying to nap until gold hit 42.60. A guy started Polymarket that there would be a streaker at the Super Bowl, and then he went and did it. Yeah, nice. If you're making good money, why not, man? Pull your junk out on national TV to make a couple $100 grand. There you go. $24,804. $150 points since the bounce. I've done a lot more for a lot less. Yeah. Yeah. Is your downside thesis still intact? How are you feeling about these swing puts? Yes, it is. I mean, it's still intact. This is a shakeout. I mean, look what we saw overnight. We still saw an aggressive dump last night. It just so happens that, you know, we recovered some of it here. So, yeah, it's still intact. Look at these candles. I mean, this is high, extreme volatility. Shakeout, obviously. They're keeping both sides of the tape here on their toes. We have aggressive green, aggressive red, aggressive green, aggressive red, aggressive green, just back and forth. Until we start putting in higher highs without rejecting, then I'm okay leaving the risk on. I mean, you got to risk it for the biscuit, you know. My thesis is still intact, so I keep the position on. We need some expansion downward. That's true, yeah. Yo. Hey. 830, 840 still going. Man, what a play that would have been. There's aggressive call buying, put selling. Look at this. 700, 800 million in calls. They've gone from 0 to 800 in the past 9 minutes. Almost $1 billion in calls put on the tape. Holy smoke-a-ronies. Higher liquidity? Yep. Liquidity on NASDAQ is all the way up to 25,000. Still going, man. It's crazy. $24,853 still going. $860 coming up to $24,900. It's nutty, dude. Nutty. $24,850. Massive call buying, put selling. Overnight high. Yeah. Pump it, bring in the bulls, rug it, bring in the bears, pop it. Yep, that's all that's been happening. What's the latest in the government shutdown? Nothing. Just they're continuing on. 874, 875. Massive squeeze, massive call buying. Look at these numbers right here. Look at this. This spot gamma data is ridiculous. If you're not watching the YouTube stream, look at this. absolutely pounding the calls. Almost 900 million in calls, 642 million in sold puts. Both sides are aggressively bullish going into the expiration. Choo. 200 points since the lows. 200 since the lows. It's crazy stuff, man. Move my stops, only 2 contracts, small play. Nice. That's not retail. Oh yeah, this is. I mean, this is. You could turn off retail and add institutional traders. This isn't like I have done that. Like all this data is institutionals, and it's not. Retail is completely excluded from this data. Still going, nothing but green here. Blastaroni with cheese. 880, 890, still going. Gold is hanging out right here. NASDAQ and ES are both launching. They've gone from 300 points down to 50 points up on NASDAQ overall. VIX is starting to slide just a touch. Do I think VIX gets below 20? If VIX comes down and gets below 20 today, I would think the S&P is going to go 67, 20, or 30 or so if that happens. If they start to deflate the VIX that much, then yeah, premiums will just drop and we'll get a launch pad. It's amazing how different about 3-4 hours can do for your analysis. Cray cray. $845, 24,845 here. We have liquidity up to 25,000. We have, well, they've sold off some of the calls there. What is that? Already a 50-point drop on NASDAQ. Beautiful. 24,845, 847, 849. 477 million puts sold. 582 million calls. Beautiful stuff, man. 840, 830. Let's see where they're going to do something. The 3Cs there, though, look, we got the 3C despite all that movement right here. So we put in a little bit higher prices. But there was that high volume spike into the 867, 880 area. So now they're going to punish the people chasing. Maybe we can get a test of 880, 18, 820 or so. Right there. And then we'll see if they're going to do this or if they're going to punish everybody. I don't think the weekly close means much here today. There's a lot of calls and many interested in seeing out. Yep. There we go. Coming on down, testing 820, 830. Beautiful. Beautiful. Shaking out everybody, baby. Shaking out everybody. All right, there we go. Coming on down again. maybe 675 there. So this dropped right into this area here. So what I'm looking for here is volume. My eyes are going to come on down here into this volume to see if we have anything to say that this is in fact going to be what they're going to do. If not, if no volume, you continue to play the slide. They're going to shake out the chasers, drop it back over. Large red candles. Look at this. Beautiful stuff. Heck yeah, man. Beautiful stuff. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stuff. Got a few puts at the highs. Nice Salim. The SPY's in a triangle pattern on the alley. We're almost to the point where a big move is about to happen. Yep, I agree. My thought process on the macro scale is down. I think they're coming down on this. Next week, I would probably look for lower 64, if not higher 6300s on the S&P, given this market condition. What's gold doing? Gold is dropping hard. Look at that. Yeah, look at that. Killing. So it had one good 3C bounce up here. Now they're coming all back down again. You have to demand high volume for any kind of moves. Beautiful bounce on NASDAQ. Done for the day. 50% on puts. Nice Salim. Already more volume than yesterday. Everyone's too long gold. You know they're going to drop and smoke everyone who bought the past week. Yeah. IV on SPY is 40%. Yeah, it's crazy high. This is aggressive. It's very aggressive. We're talking 100-point moves on the 1 minute. Very aggressive. You have to be Johnny on the spot with entries, otherwise you're going to get pretty well wrecked. Getting used to NASDAQ moving a ton, to see an SPX move 40, 100 points is crazy. Yeah, buddy. It's good stuff. They just put on liquidity way down to 24,625. All the way down, baby. All the way down. The 1 minute we had volume come in at the bottom candle, so once again the 3 C's are the Mac Daddy over and over and over again. How many times must I tell you? High volume spike on gold 1 minute. There you go. Higher high would be approximately 42.66 will get you bounce. The third C is 42.66 at this point. Man, my puts are still carrying almost 40% profit. Even with all this stuff. You can see the IVs are carrying very high, which tells me that we're not done yet. This is not going to be your typical blast off Friday. I just opened up my IBKR for the past couple hours. Risk management is the best strategy here. 100%. 100%. I had an entry at 25,809. Should I hold until the 900 level? That's up to you, Chief. Just set your stop. Set your stop based on the liquidity and see what happens. This is not the day to white knuckle things, so I would definitely have some sort of trailing stop set. Or a hard stop, whichever you prefer. Or just a self-managed stop, which is my preferred mechanism is self-managed, in line with liquidity. $66.72 here. ES Nasdaq is coming up here. Just simply follow the volume, and you will do fine. Trust the volume. Trust the volume. We see 24,963, 100%. Nice. So they're stacking liquidity down. The biggest liquidity now is 24,625, which is 250 points down. They're still selling calls and buying, or selling calls, selling puts here. So this is going to be shakeout central, I think. Continued. 25,180 needs to hold for a longer term thesis. 25,180. Let's take a look. Honestly, I'm going to maintain my downside exposure here until I get some confidence that we are done with the risk. This is a very risky situation here. So for now, my first tranche into these put positions is more of a hedge. I'm just going to maintain it and think about it as a hedge because look what happened overnight. And then just so happened we have a tweet just as VIX hits almost under 30, and then we have this little bounce. But look at this price action. The premiums are still carrying, and we're a little bit lower than the price where I bought the position originally, but the premiums are still carrying 40%. Given the and we just had a 100 and something point bounce on the S&P. It's crazy. So I'm still hanging pretty. I'm still making tons of money. And because of that, I can expect that there's going to be a lot of crazy action in this market. It's a very risky situation. Does the OMTPT always give us free pass to funded? Yes, it does. If you pass using that code, you'll get a free funded account. Your 3C method pays. 3 method pays. Thank you for the work that you do for the community. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it, buddy. Gotta size down. Gotta size down. You might be able to get away with overpositioning on a slight choppier day, but days like today, you've got to size down. If you're even 30 seconds wrong at early or late, you're going to get destroyed. You'll get smoked. You can't size up. $24,834. VIX is hanging out. We got this shakeout. If we get in the afternoon, it looks like the equity calls aren't going to pay the dealers. We're going to have to sell a ton of inventory to the close. Could get spicy. I think this will be an incredibly spicy close. When you enter those swing puts, I actually sold calls, and even though the price action is lower, I'm actually right on those calls. Yeah, premium's getting juiced. So we're not having deflation. The VIX is still carrying 24. That's the thing. They're not deflating the VIX. When we get the big move up, that's done. That means that's the bottom. The VIX will go down 20, 25%. It'll go down it'll be at 17 by the close today if this is in fact the big bull move and that's it and we're off to the fear. Because the VIX is, the reason why people call the VIX the fear metric is because that's the positioning, that's the hedging. When hedge funds are fearful, they don't just sit there and clutch their pearls and go, oh, they hedge. And when they do that, it's accounted for on the VIX. So when the VIX gets completely deflated, they are closing out their put positions. They're closing out their hedges, which means risk on, which means we go back up. We're not getting that. We're still getting 300-point moves on NASDAQ and 100-point moves on the S&P. Volatility is high. Premiums are still high. aka uncertainty. Someone invite on theta to the party. Is clutching their pearls a technical term? Yes, it is. What was the tweet? Trump said that 100% tariffs are stupid. How much theta do I have in my position? Theta value right now, if that's what you're asking. Let me get that theta on that. I don't know. I don't have added in my options channel. I'll have to add the theta value. I don't track it. Quad top wick 5 minis. They're adding more liquidity down to 650. What's ES look like? 6680, 6685 is the big liquidity on the S&P. It's tightening up, yeah. When I said theta, I meant time value. Are you talking about my expiration? Big green. Yeah, it's expiration, not theta. Expiration is November 21st. But that's all I'll say about the positions. I don't discuss open positions with non-Discord members. They pay for that, so they get it. Is there any service that provides individual equity positioning by institutions? That'd be interesting to know if they're selling all these garbage beta stocks. Well, the options, spot gamma delineates whether or not it's institution or retail. But that's options. That's not the actual equity positions. All that liquidity just got eaten up at 66.80 and now going for 66.85. 760 million puts sold and increasing. 537 million calls purchased. What is hero value for SPX? Yeah, just told you. Just answered. There you go. New high of the day for NASDAQ. Blast-a-roni. Already a 100-point move off whatever that was. Right there and still going. What's the VIX doing? VIX is hanging out at 23.59. Gold is still getting pummeled. Maybe people are closing some gold positions and putting them into the markets. High volume spike. Second highest volume candle of the day right here on this move. $24,925. ES is going. 66.90. Aggressive action. We're already up 300 points from the day's lows. Fantastic move off the 50 Fibonacci. Nice, Mojo. Very cool. Still going. Still going. Man, look at this action on the zeros. This is nuts. Incredibly strong action. 66.45 is the main area on options, but it's being eaten up right now. You see them, they're closing out everything right here at 66.45, 66.50 on SPX. That big green move right there barely eroded premiums. Barely. It's crazy. That was a 30-point move on the S&P, and my premiums dropped like 9%. I love it. Close my Tesla PCS for next to nothing. Nice. Well, that's good, right? You talking about next to no profit or next to no credit? I guess they have to specify, but we're at 130 points higher on the S&P since 4 o'clock this morning. Straight up. Straight up. They just ate up all that liquidity here. You see them stack these things? They stacked 66.85 and 66.80 right before the bounce. This rocket ship. And there you go. NASDAQ's going to 25,000. Random bang at 10:15. Nice. High volume spike again. Let's see if this one plays out. I would highly encourage you to wait for the third C for any kind of potential downside move. Let's see what they can do. All the way down. Extraordinary. Like clockwork, baby. Always jump the gun and enter after that second C. Look at that. Look at that. It's amazing. It's amazing over and over again, man. It doesn't matter what the tweet is. It doesn't matter what everything else is saying. If you just follow the volume, that's all you freaking need. Like, this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's like a cheat code. Or do I need to throw in some more overly technical jargon? Like IFVG and what other crap they've got to throw around. I guess I could overcomplicate it. I might sell more books if I overcomplicate it. Sideways cucumber? Yeah. That was always my favorite one when we use, yeah. Skibbity toilet. Extraordinary, extraordinary 3C position. Extraordinary. Remember when they used to scramble the channels you didn't pay for? What do you mean? Cable? Oh, yeah, yeah. I remember I'd go to my uncle's house. I was so poor, we didn't have anything. We didn't have TV, we didn't have a phone, nothing. So whenever I went to my uncle's house, he had one of those gigantic satellite dishes out in the back because he lived like deep in the country. So when you click the channel to change the channel, you'd have to wait for that satellite to turn and shift. And then it would finally catch your signal and put the TV up. But in the meantime, you might catch a glimpse of something you shouldn't be seeing. And if you figure out which channel that was on, you could pause it. Pause the satellite right when it got there. It was great being 11 years old. Anyway. West Virginia lawn flower. Still chilling at 900. Just made $1,600. Nice, Kim. What book? I'm in the process of writing a book. It's been a long time since I started it, but I think it's for a reason. I think God allowed me to delay writing that book for a reason because I think the 3 C's is a better a way to approach writing the book than what I was doing. Although I have a couple of great chapters I'm going to keep, but a lot of what I wrote I'm going to disregard and rebuild it into the 3Cs. So I think there's a reason why I was waiting. How much can we pay you to not write a book about the 3Cs? Oh my gosh. You know, don't give away the game. The thing is, though, the game's out there. Like, I didn't come up with this. I just figured it out based on what I read. So, I mean, no one's going to read it anyway. It's not sexy enough to be mainstream. The average retail trader is going to look at the 3Cs and like, what is this crap? This is dumb. It doesn't have all this crazy calculations and ranges and indicators and lines. So I'm not going to follow this. So we're safe. We're safe. It's not confusing enough, yeah. Not a single EMA crossover mentioned? Yeah, this is garbage. It's trash. More red coming on down, baby. Let's go. There's no way they're going to reward me this much today. There's no way. I need to change this music. It's terrible. It's jabroni proof. It is jabroni proof. I love it. Right, didn't give us early access. Oh yeah. So whenever it comes time for me to wrap that up, it'll be I'll give it to y'all first for sure. Title of the book should be Jabroni Proof Trading. That's what I'll do. My version of ICT will be JPT, the JPT system. I love it. Jabroni Proof Trading. Yeah. Give it to me, baby. Man, look at that. I've been using a variant of 3C for several months to help pinpoint the bottom of the day, but it was volume only. I just looked for a big red volume candle followed by green volume. It worked shockingly well, but there wasn't a clear signal every day. Yeah. Well, the 3Cs are not always going to give you a perfectly clear signal, although I can confidently say most of the time it will give you a clear signal. You just have to wait for the other two Cs, which is wicks and then price action. With all the jabronis out there collectively, can they move the market all? Nope. The collective retail doesn't have enough juice to deal with the billions and billions and billions of dollars. Not to mention, you have to think about the collective. They're not all thinking the same, acting the same. Now, they can pinpoint that stuff out and exploit it, but all that has to do with liquidity. Your emotions, your strategy shows up on liquidity. If the collective is showing that, then they'll exploit that. One of the biggest pros I've found with 3C is that even when it's invalidated, it's still providing good analysis on what's occurring. 100%. It makes you think about what's occurring, which is the why. It checks the why box, which is what I need to learn. If I don't understand the why, it's very difficult for me to grasp concepts. Did I get hit with any rain this week that's in your area? I had vision of watching the world float by. Negative. It's been beautiful and clear now for about a week and a half. I haven't seen a cloud in like 14 days. We haven't focused much on using 3C as an exit signal, but I also try to keep that in mind. Yeah, so yesterday was my indication, because remember I took a position yesterday that I exited on the 3C. So inherently it should be used as an entry and an exit. Because if you are, let's say if you're in a short position, and all of a sudden you see as the price action is dropping, a super high volume spike with a bottom wick, that should tell you, hey, I need to get out of this position, or at least bring my stop down to accommodate that possible bounce. Because you don't want, you got to be smart about this stuff too. We all want the big 200-point move, but if the market's just not going to give it to you, then you got to get out. Yeah, definitely. How can you read that hero thing? Well, it's pretty self-explanatory once you learn it. The green line goes up, that's call buying. The blue line goes up, that's put selling. So you have to think about it in the terms of delta notional and understanding that puts are a negative delta product, calls are a positive delta product. So when you go to your options chain on your brokerage and you buy a put, your account is now exposed to negative delta, which means bearish. So if the market drops, you're going to make money. If the market climbs, you're going to lose money. So if you think about it in numerical terms like that, when the blue line, which represents puts, goes up, it's going more positive, which means they are selling puts. If the green line goes up, which is a positive delta product, that means they are buying puts, and then switcheroo if they both go down. TradeOvate just did me dirty. I was in a position that wouldn't let me close out. Then at the top of the menu said open account like I didn't have one open. I restarted back in and closed for $1,000 loss. Whenever you start getting wonky stuff like this, like that, you need to screen record. So whatever hotkeys you need to set up to screen record, do it. Because they will, if you have it recorded, they'll fix it. But if you don't, you're a leper to them. You know how many dudes out there are getting blown out who try to blame everything on brokerage issues? They know. They know. When the price goes up and it hits demand, price goes up, it's going to hit supply, not demand. And the sign of absorption is steady volume without a spike. Yeah, pretty much, yeah. So when the price comes up into a resistance and it sticks there without any kind of sweeping rejections, without any volume spikes or diminishing volume spikes, then yes, that's signs of absorption and most likely we're going to break through. But if you're getting continued sweeping rejections, then that is not absorption, that is seller strength, weakening buyers, and you're gonna get dropped. 3C on gold. Let's take a look. Right now, this 3C is working out beautifully well so far. Gold is bouncing, so they did the same thing. Right here, there's another one coming back up. That's why you only use IBKR if hedge funds are using it in lieu of a prime brokerage account. I don't see why you go wrong. 100%, yeah. IBKR is the way to go, baby. Way to go. Got back green today. Nice stocks. Well done, buddy. Your 3Cs made me a great deal on gold this morning. I'm done for the day. 4X, my daily goal. Nice futures vagabond. Beautifully. Beautiful. What tier in spot gamut do I have? I have the alpha package, the top package. But you can get away with anything depending on what you want to do with the lowest tier. The lowest tier gets you the founder's notes, so it really depends on what you want to get. You just go to the menu and figure out what resources do you want to use from SpotGam. If you want everything, then you get the alpha. If you just want like maybe hero and founder's notes or something, you get a different tier. Do I want to hear something that makes me cringe? Dude, I have an online presence. I hear that stuff every day. But yeah, sure. Nice little red candles dropping back over still. Target for extension is 876-5309. $200 a month is steep for one indicator. Yeah, but you get a lot for that money. It is high, don't get me wrong. But it is you get a lot. That's me for the week. We appreciate your help this week. Back to work next week and appreciate your presence. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate you being here, buddy. Let me know if I can help in any way. We are still dropping nicely on NASDAQ. If we could take over 876, we might get to 309. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Right here. 876. We're under it. And then we're going to go for 811. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. $128 billion wiped out on crypto in 4 hours. Fifth Third has no relationship with Zion's borrower who lost $100 million on a default loan. Interesting. 869, we're still dropping, baby. We're still dropping. I need to make a potato gun. Or a cannon. I need to make a cannon. That'd be nice. Nice, Kraken. Appreciate you, buddy. I think it's working out well, man. The stream participation is going up. I think people are really digging the 3Cs, so it's good stuff. Wrong song, yeah. I've been consistently making good profit ever since I applied the 3C strategy. Grateful to find this channel. Nice, TA. Thank you. Chicks love cannons, yeah. I took a look at my screenshot, and since the time I turned 21 to now, I have placed 2,675 sports bets. However, I'm all-time profitable and have been profitable each year as well. I'm good at exploiting betting markets. That's not cringe. If you're all-time profitable, man. 3Cs have changed my trading career. Love it, PB&J. Look, we're selling off right here still, all the way down. I was too gushy to enter that last 3C short. Now I hate myself. That's all right. So far, this is turning into a decent trade. How good of a trade it can be, I don't know. In one candle, they could smoke it, so we'll see. Definitely don't want to get cocky. And best of all, my Top Step account is still alive after a week. First time on a prop. Nice, Kraken. Forgive me, what does each 3C stand for? 3 criteria is what it stands for, the 3 C's. And the first criteria is volume, the second criteria is wick, third criteria is price action. So movement over a high or movement under a low if you're looking for a short. In this case, short, so movement under a low, everything's confirmed. This was a textbook 3C, and we're down 100 and something points, and Daddy's up 87 points. And until I see a volume spike, I'm going to maintain positioning. As we come into this imbalance, which at 24,818, we have a minor volume spike coming along here. So what goes through my mind? Am I going to hope and cross my fingers for a move down to 683, which would be glorious? Yeah, sure, I can do that, but I need to think logically in the fact that we are starting to get a volume spike into the imbalance, and I need to protect myself. If they take this area out, then I'll be okay. But I need to account for the possibility that we're going to have a bounce in this area with that volume, and I'm going to move my stop lower. And we're going to keep on eating. All the way down. Is my next strategy calling the 3Ds? Why the 3Ds? D's. Oh my gosh. Here we go. Can we get under 818? All right, so my trailing stop didn't even come into play there. So 820 is the imbalance. We take that out. We're going to gun for 775. But my eyes right now are down into this area right here. I'm watching the volume. And when if we claim 820, I'll trail my stop down a little bit more. I'm just going to play the oscillations in price. All the way down, baby. All the way down. What are the 3 C's? 3 criteria, baby. 3 criteria. I have a YouTube video on it if you're willing. It's about a 19-minute video. I encourage you to go take a look. Whew, that one got close. That one got close. I thought I was about to get out. Top wick saves me. Resurrected King. There we go, new low, still going. We got to close it. If we can close this area, we'll get a little bit of an extension here. So I just have to maintain this. I just have to maintain the shakeout right here. I have to maintain the shakeout, baby. Right here. We got to get under whatever this level is. So we have volume, so I'm aware of that, and I've accounted my trailing stop for that. Right here. And we're getting some minor bottom wicks here, but so far no higher highs. If we get a higher high, I want to get out of this position and maximize my profits. So detect the trend, failure to see a high volume candle means trend is not changing. That's absolutely right, yeah. So if you want continuation or if you want to play breakouts, you cannot have a volume spike. Volume spike is no bueno for a continuation. Most of the time, there's going to be exceptions, like a news event. If Trump, lays down a tweet that's nuts, and you get a super high volume spike with continuation, then yeah, you can't really do about, because that means there's a tremendous amount of buyers hitting the tape on a tweet. So I mean that's different, but that doesn't happen very often. All right, so no higher highs yet. They're still top wicking, which is in my best interests here. I'm just kind of going through my thought process here. I'm perfectly safe. Everything is fine. Until I see a bottom wick that rolls into a higher high price, I need to maintain a short thesis here. We got to get out of this area. All right. We need to, if we close this candle low, then I have my oh, there we go. So we close low. So now I'm going to trim my trailing stop down a little bit more. Once we close below a liquidity, that is my sign to move down liquidity. We just tapped 100. Oh, oh. Do we get it? Yep. All right, I'm out. So out of the trade. So once you put in a higher or lower low like that, and then close below a lower low, that's my sign to come down in liquidity. And unfortunately, they got me on that green candle after they did it. But that's okay. That's okay. 91 points on NASDAQ. Nice AR. Well done. I'll take it. I'll take it. That worked well. Made 15 handles. Nice, Neil. What am I trading? I'm trading NASDAQ. All right, what are my premiums at on SPX? What are they sitting at? Whew, man, they're still elevated. I love it. I love it. I love it. $14 on ES. I'm good for the day. Nice Jovo Hub. Well done, buddy. This is going. That's a beautiful shakeout candle there. The whole point of that candle was to do exactly what it did, was to get people out of shorts. That got me. But we have a high volume spike on that too, so hopefully that turns into a good exit. I don't want to be kicking myself. Can I do a quick recap on the short you took? Yep. 3C, high volume 3C short position. I had a confirmation on the 3C, and down we went. Down we went. TLT's not doing what it's supposed to again. FFS. So frustrating. Let's take a look. Well, on the macro theme, it's heading that direction. There's some oscillations. It's still in the general theme of up. It bounced on October 7th, and it's been up ever since. So, yeah, today it's definitely oscillating down. But I want to see this baby. I want to see this. That's why I have dollar cost averaging to it. But yeah, yeah. All right, I'll consider that a good exit. You see what I mean? 3C's used for exits and entries. I'll take it. I thought we should see 98 by now. It'll come. Trust me, man. I made the decision to roll my entire retirement into the G fund, which is the bond fund, and I did that for a reason. I have my biggest financial asset in my name now in the G fund in protection status. Man, what an exit. What an exit. I'll take it, baby. I think I like good exits just as much as the good entries. It's fantastic. Fantastic. All right. That might be it for me today. Wild 3Cs are golden. Yep. They are golden, baby. They are golden. Eventually, agnostic though. I think we'll go to 125, 130 on TLT. You're going to have to wait because the market has to get to the point. You remember in 2008, the movie The Big Short, that they were getting aggravated because they were positioned for the bonds to crash, and it took 2 years for them to finally do it. I mean, that's the same process here, same concept. It's like, I think everyone can agree that this is wildly ridiculous. Every single asset in existence is grossly overvalued. And it's only a matter of time. And my long thesis on the bonds is it's either going to bounce and go to 125, 130, or it's not going to matter anymore, and you're going to have gold mine of massive amounts of eggs to sell and barter with. Thank you. Locked out again. Nice, Dave. Man, beautiful. Fantastic, dude. Fantastic. What's my risk management plan? Just de-risking a little bit, de-exposing myself to the S&P. Now, It'd have been different if I de-risked here or here, but I de-risked there. So right now I'm in a beautiful position, a historic position, probably the best trade I've ever taken in my entire life in terms of monetary value. If I am correct, if I just pin the top of this market, this is like Michael Burry status for me. And if we happen to drop, down, somewhere down here, I'll rotate back in and I'll have essentially saved my family 10 to 15 years of pain. You guys self-direct your pensions. The beautiful thing about the TSP is you have the option to change your allocations on the daily. So I could go back in every day and change my allocations from the S fund to the C fund, which C fund is the S&P. C fund is the government's version of the SPY. S fund is small caps. I fund is international. G fund is your treasury fund. There's a couple other funds too. You also have life cycle funds, which I'm never a fan of life cycle funds. They're terrible. Absolutely terrible. The returns on them are terrible. I just don't do them. So they do have like a 2030, 2050, 2070 life cycle fund, which I do not participate in, but I allocate myself. I manage myself. So what is on Thursday before the crash? So Thursday, October 8th, I went in and I allocated every dime I have into the G fund out of the S&P. And the next day we did what we did. And if that does happen to be the top of this move, then I'll be sitting pretty. I do not understand the streamers and the money they rake in. It got to be a money laundering. YouTuber Moist Critical shuts off donations after banking $40 million. I don't know how they do it. You know how much money YouTube is making on those? You know YouTube takes 30% of all their donations, and then you get taxed another 30 to 50% on top of that. So by the time you get the money from that, you're getting less than 50% of the money you make off of YouTube. Some of the streamers set up a Ko-Fi account that goes, I don't know what that is, but do I feel gold will go up or down from here? I honestly have no idea. I'm completely out of touch with gold. I don't know. The obvious answer is it's got to go back down a little bit. Now we are seeing a euphoria style spike in volume, which usually notes at least a temporary top. Do you really think Trump will allow for the markets to drop that much? I don't think Trump will have an option. I mean, he can manipulate the market with some tweets every now and then, but eventually the chickens are going to come home to roost. I'm thinking of getting a giant 3C tattoo on my back. If you get a giant 3C tattoo on your back, I'll give you a free lifetime membership. I'll consider it sponsoring. When your art starts talking to you about an asset, chances are it's due for a pullback. Touche. It's touche. I didn't do my TSP. My supervisor made me open a Roth the same week I got in my first permanent base. I thank him for that. Yep. He's a very smart man. Look, big liquidity at 875 here. So we'll see watch for the volume spike at 875 and see how the price action reacts. I'm currently uninvested, no position. I just closed a beautiful short. Some would say the most beautiful short we've ever seen. That was up bigly. And we'll see what happens from here. So you think the cyclical top happens in 2025, or are you looking for a correction? I don't know, honestly. All I think is I'm uncomfortable with current market valuations. So I elected to de-risk my position. Now here's my thought process. Let's say for the next 4 months the market does trudge up another 3, 4, 5%. I'm okay with leaving that on the table for the amount of risk that I'm uncomfortable with up here. So at some point, this is it's just I'm uncomfortable with it. Now, whether or not I actually did pin the exact top or not, most likely I did not. Things don't work out that well in the markets. Usually don't get that lucky. So we'll see. Guy thinks gold will sell off his funds leveraged in private equity to sell it to make all their margin calls. Yeah. But if I get one on my forehead, yeah, don't do that. I can't. Yeah, don't do that. With how much they rake in from capital gains, I don't think they can allow the market to drop that much. Yeah. How's everybody doing on the contest? I don't know. I can make a case for both. It's so hard to tell. Yeah, it is. It is. But the honest reason why I elected to make that decision agnostic, because a couple of days before I made the decision to make that change, I opened up my balance, my TSP brokerage for the first time in months, and I was like, wow. Like my TSP is moving like a small cap. It's ridiculous. The amount of returns that retirements are seeing is ridiculous. The amount of and think about the macro implications of that. Think of how much liquidity is being injected. Fake printed liquidity is being injected because of this market movement. The pension is the lifeblood of the American economy. Everything points to the American pension, the American retirement fund, the American TSP, whatever it is. Everything points to that because that is what everyone buys. Everyone from day one says, open a retirement account, start buying when you're 18 and never stop. So, of course, everything is bought into that. And think about the massive valuations of all these retirement accounts because I saw it firsthand. And once I saw that, I was like, what? It made me thinking, I guess, a little existentially. It's like, where do we go from here? What happens in 10 years? Because the market's always going to do exactly what it's always done. Do you think at the very high price of the dot-com bubble, everyone was thinking major crash? Did everyone in 2008 when the markets were rocketing, did everyone think, or the real estate market, do you think everything was going to keep on doing what it's going to do? So the markets are going to do everything it's always done. 1929, 1997, 1998, 2008, and then now. So, you can't get the relentless blast off green without the other side of the tape. One comes with the other. The markets always come back to mean reversion, always. Now the hard part is timing it. It's almost impossible. In fact, it pretty much is impossible to time it. That's why you don't call tops. That's why you don't short every single little red candle. But my thought process is that if the market does this until about March and then does this, I'm okay missing out on those little gains. I'm okay with that. Because what I've gotten already from 2020 until 2000 now has grossly exceeded all my expectations. Both of my real estate investments, my land investments, my 401ks, everything. Heck, my 2018 Tundra is no longer an asset to me. It's an investment. I could go sell it right now and make money. It's ridiculous. Why can't this be the new normal? You'll kill. I mean, you'll kill future generations if this continues on. I mean, some could argue that the future generations are already killed, but you're going to experience hyperinflation, something like that makes the 70s look like a cakewalk if this continues. You can't have valuations on everything skyrocket into oblivion forever. Because at what point do we, where do we go from here? That's the question that keeps going up in my mind here. Like, do we in 10 years, or am I going to get an offer for $300,000 an acre for my land? Are we going to pay $200,000 for a mid soccer mom SUV? Are you going to get quotes for $1,200 a square foot to build a house? In BFE country? So it's got to stop. It has to. Eventually. Otherwise, we'll experience just hyperinflation. I mean, I've already been told by farmers that, prepare for beef prices to go into oblivion because it's no longer profitable. Dealing with foreign countries it makes domestic cattle farming no longer profitable. We can't compete with Argentina on cattle prices. So cattle farmers are closing left and right. You can't grow corn because Monsanto will sue you for not growing their corn. If you grow your own corn, they'll sue you because that's America. So corn farmers are going to go up in smoke. It's crazy. I could go. Never mind. All right. What candle at 1046 would be considered the start of the 3C? Let's take a look. 1046, 946, 1046 Eastern. I don't see any volume spikes in those candles. The crash is already planned. I'll introduce a crypto-based financial system. There you go. There you go. Atlanta will always go up. Yeah, it will always go up, but to what degree? All while wages are stagnant. Yeah. I had one good gold trade last night and two good gold trades before the market opened. My account's been locked ever since. Nice, Damien. Awesome stuff, buddy. We're coming up to the top of the hour, which means Top Step gets locked, baby. Top Step gets locked. Locking in the profits. I'm currently not in a trade. I didn't take this follow-on short. I got out of my initial short position, but obviously I'm still in the put. I'm going to maintain downside exposure. We're not out of the woods, obviously. We're still way too much selling. You should keep talking. Maybe a new channel for that. Most of it's traders or pattern recognition, so things went bad to weird. Would you go off the high volume bottom wick on the 1 hour on gold? Let's take a look. You can play the 1 hour. You just have to be patient enough to get the higher high. So if you're going to play 1 hour charts like this, it's a lot more waiting, a lot more patience, which is perfectly fine. But the hourly chart is more in line with swing trades or longer term trades. Whereas the 15-minute below is more in line with scalps and day trades. So you do what you need to do. You have to be patient. What indicator do you recommend to see volume? Just the basic volume. The volume that you see down here is just the volume that comes with it. When you first log into TradingView, the volume that's down there, that's what I use. I don't do anything fancy. And I change the colors, obviously, where red is white and green is a different shade of green. And I did this, and I really enjoy it. Red invokes a lot of emotions. It's been proven. The color red invokes emotion. So remove the color red off your chart. I mean, it sounds silly, but you need every edge you can get in the market. $3X my daily goal, locking Top Step for the weekend. Nice options, noob. Lock it up, baby. It's good stuff. Well done. Oh, there's 10 o'clock, so I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm locking in my Top Step. Lock it up. I'm locked out, baby. Lock it up. Trading view volume has been broken for me the past couple of years. That's weird. I don't know. I've never had a problem with it. Have you ever used a seconds time frame? Negative. I don't even trade off the 1 minute. The 1 minute is volume inflow only. So I need confirmation on higher time frames. I guess never is a bad term. I have traded off the 1 minute before, but vast majority of the time, 5 minute movement to confirm that the price action is actually shifting, especially in volatile action. So I'll track the 1 minute for volume inflow and then confirm on the 5. I trade blues and whites. Nice. That's a good idea, Benedy. Yeah, blue's a good color. I mean, they say geniuses pick green, but you didn't pick it. Is 11 o'clock 3 Cs? Yeah. On the 1 minute, yes. So on the 1 minute, we do have high volume. We do have a higher high. We do have a bottom wing. So we do have a 1 minute 3C setup. The 5 minute is yet to be determined. Now 1 minute 3Cs will break down faster than 5 minute 3Cs. You just have more data involved with a 5 minute. Not to mention we're coming up in the later morning, early afternoon hours, which is more difficult to trade. So take note of that. There's a reason why I stopped trading at about 11:30, because volatility usually wraps up a little bit, momentum shifts, and the confidence goes way down. So setups break down quickly in a low confidence situation. And then you picks back up at about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Things start to pick up and momentum starts to build for the closing session. So I highly recommend staying out of the markets from about 11:30 to roughly 1:45, 2 o'clock. It's just not good. People are on Polymarket are now betting how long Trump and Zelensky will shake hands. Right now, the winning bet is 4 to 6 seconds in duration. No, 6 to 8 seconds in duration. There you go, McGabagooley. What's your bet? Most major moves happen from 10:30 to 11:15. Yeah, there you go. That's why, I mean, let the move happen. 11:30, shut it down. 100%. I don't have any models or data for that. I don't know. Trump does those prolonged power shakes, so I could see it going 8 to 10 seconds. I'm sure there's somebody out there going through all Trump's meetings and timing and developing an average for how long he shakes hands. Started working some other stuff this morning. This morning's trade was on ES. What time? I entered on NASDAQ. My PCS I sold 60 points away and still barely decaying. Yeah, premiums are holding up nicely. So that was a beautiful 3C right there. It indicated on the 1. We finally have some indication on the 5 there. If you can close over 70 up to 73 or so, you'll get the move. You'll get the 3C indication to go long there. But the 1 minute's already indicated. You choose on which one. Do you need higher high or higher low for the other 3C? Yeah, the third C is either a higher high or lower low. Yes, absolutely. Good question. When will the government shutdown end on Polymarket? The winning bet right now is November 16th or later, 34%. That'll put us into the longest shutdown in history. And yet, we still owe our taxes. Congress still gets paid for doing nothing. All right. A few more minutes here, we'll call it a stream. We'll call it a week. Finished up a great week. Nice, John. Well done, buddy. Well done. My wife has to work for the next 2 months for free, no back pay. Why is that? Do the rock voice, yeah. Been moving and have not been able to take any trades all week. I hate missing out on all the action. That's okay. Hey, there's always opportunity, baby. This is just the start. If we're right, this is just the start, so don't sweat it. She's a Navy civilian at a research base. Research funds are provided by Congress, but the government entities that hire them. Past shutdown, she had to work and not get paid. That's terrible, man. I'm sorry to hear that. What y'all think? What else we got? We're just wrapping up the stream here. We're about to wrap it up. We just closed out our main short position from the top, and nothing else has been taken. Definitely, Dave. I'll take a look, buddy. Just looking through a couple of things here while we wait. Moody says the banking system, private credit markets are so sound despite worries over bad loans. Yeah. I'm in an iron condor because I hate myself. Oh, spoken like a true trader. I love it. You have to have a little self-hate to be a trader, right? A little self-loathing. If you had entered the long based on the 1 minute, do you think you had been stopped out by now? Curious how fast. All right, let's take a look. I mean, I did not take a long, but let's take a look at the 1 minute. If you would have taken the trade on the 1 minute based on the high volume inflow, my entry most likely would have been approximately here. Would I have been stopped out already? Yes. Once you start putting in these lower lows, stair stepping down, you got to get out of the trade. If you're especially if you're trading off the 1 minute, you can't accept that big of a drawdown on the 1 minute. Now, if you're trading off the 15 minute, maybe you could still stay in, but on the 1 minute, yeah, you start putting in these lower lows, you got to get out. Now, secondly, if you're trading off the 1 minute, you can't go over and do analysis on the 5 minute. Trading on the 1 and exiting off the 5, you're going to get wrecked because there's a lot more data involved in that. Time frame continuity is very important. Would you mind looking at the S&P chart on the 5 minute? Sure. 15 candle and walk through how you played as 3C. Yep. Well, that's exactly where I played. So I mean, I did it on Nasdaq, of course, but same concept. So yeah, if you're playing it off the 15 minute, no wait, the 5 minute. You want to do it on the 5 minute. So you've got high volume inflows coming in right here, little high volume coming into it. You have a nice little top wick. Your lower low would have been probably right about here, getting below that, which was most likely would have demanded an entry on this candle here. So you'd have entered somewhere down in this area, you know, maybe 66.80, maybe 66.75 or so, and then luckily it would have used your entry as resistance, and that's continued pressure. That's a sign you took a great entry when the market's using your entry as pivot to the positive side. And at which point, you need to make a decision on if you're going to get out of the position or hold down to the lows of the day here. So you had a lot better extension on Nasdaq than the S&P, but there's still plenty of profits to be made here on the S&P. But the whole concept is higher volume. If I can get this thing to work, higher volume, top wicks, and then, lower low prices. I can't think about where my port was at 3 a.m. versus where it was at the open. I wish I had closed out at SPX 3 a.m. Well, that's why when you are taking put positions, you've got to build in time because the market loves to bounce. You can have big green days all the time that never sell off, but it's very, very rare to have a big red day that never bounces. So you either have to build in time or you have to be able to close out sometime in the wee hours of the morning. When I tell people I trade for most of my income, they always say, hey, that's cool. Is it easy? You think you should try it? And I always tell them, no, the first years are very hard. Yep. All right, coming on down. Coming on down. ES is sliding, NASDAQ is sliding beautifully on down. Premiums are still holding very high. It's fantastic. HEWA right now is showing options activity is flat, but net deltas, we have 761 million sold puts, 633 million sold calls. I'm sorry, purchase calls. But they're both trending into the negative direction. And Western Alliance Regional Bank yesterday tanked almost 10%. Jeez. People ask me how to start, and I always say before learning anything to read trading in the zone and complete blind price analysis. Yeah, I've got a buddy who's very smart. He's an engineer, probably one of the smartest people I know, and he always asks me to teach him how to trade. And I've always agreed that I'll teach him how to trade, but I've always warned him that this is not about intelligence. This is not about. It's not all rainbows and unicorns. It's hell on earth for the first couple of years. It'll do everything. You almost think the market is sentient. You almost think the market is out to get you and only you. So as long as you can get through the first couple of years, then yeah, you could probably learn to do this at least somewhat successfully, if not fully successfully. It's dependent on you, but you have to understand the market is a shakeout, literally. The market is there to shake out liquidity from one side and give it to the other side, ad nauseum. Has nothing to do with anything else other than that. High IQ is negatively correlated. I believe it. I believe that. They see, that my friends in my close circle see the success I have now, but they don't see the first 3-4 years of me wanting to jump off a bridge. Wall Street bets. Yeah. I've told people I can teach you how to trade like a reading a chart, but I can't teach you how to deal with your emotions. Yep. Can't teach that. I could teach you how to fix a hole in the drywall, but I can't keep you from punching it. Isn't that right, Damien? Oh, man. Yes, that's correct. Oh, I was talking to the other Damien, but yes. 66.55 to 66.13 is rowdy. Yep, this whole thing is rowdy. All right, I have to step away here, so I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. We have a bit of a fall festival party this weekend, and the guy with the giant bouncy house is here, so I have to go help him set it up. Not to brag, but I'm a decent trader. I've been profitable for a few years, but I think this week is going to end my green streak, and it weighs so heavily on me. Why do I still have all these dumb emotions? Dude, it's fine. It's fine. The best hitters in MLB history have a 300, just a share above 300% hitting, or 300 batting average, which means 7 out of 10 times they're unsuccessful, and yet they're in the Hall of Fame. The best traders on Wall Street are bringing in returns of 10 to 12 to 15%. So just chill, bro. You just had an amazing streak. It happens. Everyone's invited to my pity party. Control those emotions, baby. You're killing it, dude. Don't forget to tie down them bouncy houses. Yeah. Anyway, new low of the day. And we're still downtrending. I appreciate y'all hanging out with us. If you're on YouTube and this is your first time here, please hit like and subscribe so you can get notifications for all future live streams and future content posted. I encourage you to go through and look at all the prior videos so you can get a grasp on what we're doing here. So, if you have any other questions, hit me up. Shoot me a DM on Discord or an email at optionsmillionaire2020@gmail.com. If you're in Discord, baby, y'all know the drill. I'm not sure how active I'll be until about 2 o'clock. I got a busy afternoon. But the price action is priced to be crazy this afternoon. IV is very high. Premiums are still carrying aggressively. Obviously, these ranges and candles are definitely robust. We're in a bit of a downtrend at the moment. The low of the day, keep an eye on it, is getting very close. So, just have a plan. Stick to the 3 C's. High volume, bottom wick or top wick, and price action over the higher, lower, low. They'll likely pin VIX around 25. I like it. Listen to Trader J. The guy's been killing it. We're experiencing all firsthand what happens when a trader goes from struggling to succeeding. We're living vicariously through Trader J. So keep an eye on what he's doing. It's fantastic. It's like the parable of the mustard seed or the parable of the Japanese or bamboo. You plant the giant bamboo. It takes 3 years. It does absolutely nothing. And then all of a sudden it shoots up like 75 feet overnight. I love it. So, y'all have a good rest of the day. I'll see y'all bright and early Monday morning for everyone else. For Tier 2, I'll see you Sunday night for our weekly brief. I'm out. See ya!